BBC, inspiring Uganda.
Another episode of the Business Roundup is on, and as usual, we have compiled for you some of the biggest stories from within the country and across the borders. To the highlights: cybercrime on the rise in Uganda's banking sector. Bankers and customers must be cautious. Public and private sector collaboration vital in growing the digital economy. Uganda has no capacity to fully finance its national budget, experts argue. Uganda Railways Corporation and partners launched Tutambule Fena pilot project. Don't touch the dial, it's time for business, and I'm your host, Sigoa. Uganda has no capacity of financing its national budget from the revenue sourced internally, says Professor Fred Muhumuza, a seasoned economic expert. Muhumuza argues that a constrained economy cannot thrive without external financing.
Uganda's national debt has risen exponentially in the last decade and is projected to continue rising for some time. Servicing of debt now takes a significant amount of revenue per annum, with most of it spent on paying interests on loans to the international creditors.
We have seen here that the domestic debt is really eating a good portion, 6 trillion in the coming year. That money could have gone to drugs, that money could have gone to paying the teachers, that money could have gone to supporting agricultural farmers, but because of the previous obligation, that has come in as a constraint.
The debt distress is likened to mortgaging of the economy and is hampering the implementation of key government projects of social and economic importance.
Our debt sustainability is becoming impossible. So we must stop borrowing. We are borrowing, but do we use this for the right purpose? We are borrowing only for the thieves to steal it. The thieves steal it. So at the end of the day, we end up paying loans for which we have not seen any value for money. I agree with government that we must stop borrowing money from outside. We must deepen our economy. We must increase the number of our taxpayers, deepen the tax base. You know, at the moment, very few people are paying taxes in Uganda. They are being overburdened with more taxes. We must really integrate our people in a money economy to be able to collect more taxes, and then we must increase the number of people saving with the NSSF, so that some of these government projects like building refinery in Kabale and Hoima should be funded by NSSF, so that the government will pay NSSF.
Whereas some government officials and technocrats claim that the debt level is still sustainable, debt servicing ratios point to elevated risks.
We no longer have the liberty of postponing or of doing other little things. No, we need to concentrate on it. One, of course, is that we need to ensure that we borrow. We run away from commercial loans, because those are they are very expensive. They are short term, and I think they take a huge toll on our own national resources. We need to go for non-commercial loans that give us a grace period of 40 years, of 10 years, and a payment period of 40 years, because that's when we can be able to return back. We also need to be smart in terms of what we borrow for, and build our capacity to utilize that amount of money.
To curb worrying situation, government has plans of servicing priorities from income sourced from within. We seek for a candid view from Professor Fred Muhumuza, a seasoned economic expert.
Now, we see government taking a decision to say, I will not borrow more. Now, that may be true or not true. It's a good intention, really, if you speak at it from the intention point of view. But the obligation that government already has, which cannot be undone. Now, when you look at them in that space, it's not possible that we're not going to borrow. because revenue authority is not going to raise the money, and yet the obligations to do are actually already in-house. So it might take a time, maybe another 3-4 years or 5, to see this tempo go down, but it will also take serious decisions to restructure the government.
According to a recent report, Uganda's public debt stock increased by 22% from 57 trillion shillings in the 2019-2020 financial year to 70 trillion shillings by the end of 2020-2021 financial year.
Building a strong digital economy calls for greater public and private sector collaboration in setting up a conducive environment and infrastructure. This was emphasized at the Digital Economy Showcase in Kampala, organized by the Innovation Village. Let's have a look.
There is need for designing and delivering digital solutions that affordably address various challenges facing society. This was emphasized at the Digital Economy Showcase in Kampala, organized by the Innovation Village.
These solutions will, for example, help farmers access affordable and quality inputs, credit, insurance, and markets for their produce.
Government is a willing partner in driving the digital economy agenda, says Charles Oleni, the Deputy Executive Director at the National Planning Authority.
Government, as I said earlier, is working towards creating adequate infrastructure coverage in order to be able to drop the cost of internet. There have been many reasons why internet has been expensive, majorly being inadequate access to what you call, there is the bandwidth that has limited the access to internet itself.
Over the years, the Innovation Village has empowered the youth with ICT knowledge through training with the goal of creating jobs and tackling societal problems.
If you ask me, one of the most important things I celebrate in Uganda's startup ecosystem is that now entrepreneurs are seen, they are visible. It's okay for someone to say, I am a technology entrepreneur, I'm building a startup. You know, we have new careers that we're building.
Although there are notable achievements, numerous challenges do exist that hamper the penetration of ICTs, especially in key sectors of the economy, such as agriculture. They include cost of internet, poor infrastructure, and suspicion from the end users.
The adoption rate of technology, hasn't been as much as we had anticipated earlier. Yes, there is a lot of improvements. People are actually getting to learn about technology. There are so many infrastructures in place.
And so far the challenges is the switching from cash to cashless. You have to train people, like you have to do continuous training about the digitizing them from their cash savings groups.
ICT innovations catalyze entirely new industries and other pathways, and thus creating limitless opportunities, crucial in accelerating social and economic development.
Fraud in Uganda's financial industry is now more rampant. Hardly a day goes by without a red alert or a fraud complaint. The worrying trend has come to the attention of the bankers' umbrella body, Uganda Bankers Association, which has vowed to safeguard the industry players and their customers.
Statistics show that every single minute, more than $11.4 million is lost globally due to cybercrime, the most common method of fraud targeting the banking industry. Uganda's financial industry has not been spared.
Well, I can say that fraud is increasing, especially on the digital channels. We have various convenient methods of payment. In the process, customers may compromise their identity, their passwords, their access codes, their PIN codes, either because of insufficient knowledge or fraudsters have observed certain behavior and they're able to play games with particular customers, or instances where identity is compromised either by our own staff. Remember, we recruit staff from among ourselves. Yes, from the country, from our children, our brothers, our sisters, those who go to school, who qualify, anybody who qualifies. They are part of the society. Some of them have bad intentions, however nice they were when they were coming in. Some of them are tempted. Some of them are promised big monies to share part of the loot. Human beings are only human.
But what are the most common forms of fraud affecting Uganda's sector and its customers?
Put them in about three ways. One is what we call identity theft, impersonation and forgeries, where documentation, speaking about the customer, are forged. That's gaining an entry because we use the original documentation and we update, but people find ways of making sure they are forged and so on. And this may manifest in checks, cards, and other documents. Then there is loan fraud, again, where people come with the intention of not paying, whereas we have appraisal mechanisms to make sure you get the loan for the purpose and you are genuine, you can indeed pay for it, and it's for a good reason. Sometimes people divert funds, even when you fall onto the security or collateral as a fallback, there are issues with it and the loan goes bad. But the most increasing one, the third category, like I said, is cyber, which is where things are happening.
This prompts another question on what should be the first line of defense in curbing financial fraud in the dawn of new technologies which offer convenience.
One of the most important areas is regulation. Recently, the payment industry has become heavily regulated. So to become a player, you have to be checked thoroughly from end to end. And this, over time, as both sides get better, the security will just improve. I would say implement the latest, always have the latest technology with you, even if it costs a lot to upgrade your security. A lot of businesses shy away from that.
We should continue, though, to strengthen the security frameworks. Awareness is one of them, controls both from a system, from a process point of view, but it starts with awareness. How do you secure your phone? What passwords, what authority levels are required, so that your money, even if by mistake somebody had said, at least an alert comes to you, you block it before it happens. User knowledge, a lot of education. So I really think that it has got more benefits, digitization. The power of technology and processing speed is still being unleashed, and that brings more advantages. But we have to deal with the realities that there are people 24/7 planning theft.
The Chief Executive, Liquid Telecommunications, Dennis Kahindi, explains the risk and loss of money linked to digitization.
Yeah, now these are international cyber statistics that every single minute that passes, the world, globally, 11.4 million US dollars is being lost for every single minute via cybersecurity. And guess what? What that means is every single minute there are probably millions of attacks on millions of devices, and some of them are very, very successful. And when those successful ones happen, that's where that loss happens. $11.4 million looks like a lot of money, but if you look at the exposure of the entire world, that is just a small percentage. But it's that risk and that hunger, because people realize that there is money to be stolen for them to be made if they continue to successfully hack certain systems. We've seen even local banks here, some of them have had breaches on their systems. We've seen local telecoms having breaches to their systems. Now, all this combined with the entire global number, that's where that statistic comes from.
According to the Bankers Association, fraudsters target mobile money and bank-operated internet transactions. Although the bankers' body is in sensitization drives, there is need for more awareness for both the old and new sector players and customers to safeguard against fraudsters. Sigoa for UBC Business.
And still in the digital space, Uganda Railways Corporation, Easy Matatu and Safe Border have launched a commuter train pilot project dubbed Tutambule Fena, targeting commuters along the Kampala-Namanve corridor. The project aims at achieving impact in commuting time, transport spend and perception of safety and reliability. Abdul Nasir Obama has more.
The pilot project dubbed Tutambule Fena aims at demonstrating city mobility improvements focused on low-income commuters. It is being implemented through a public and private sector collaboration.
Our objective of the cooperation is to be the preferred freight and passenger service provider in the country and beyond. This initiative is positively contributing to this as we are improving our passenger service.
And now we do provide the ride-hailing service for last mile and first mile, and also provide the commuters an opportunity to use our platform to pay for their services. This, we believe, complements everything that we do in Safe Border. And then from there, when you get to the destination of the train, you don't need to worry about how you get to your final destination. You order for a Safe Border to take you to your final destination.
According to the implementing partners, commuters along the Kampala-Namamve corridor being divided into two categories to cater for the first mile and last mile customers. Besides easing the rush traffic jam, by offering a reliable means of transport, Tutambule Fena is aimed at increasing convenience through digitizing the transport sector.
This initiative is positively contributing to this as we are improving our passenger service. The corporation also has plans of improving and extending the passenger service from Nambole, where right now we stop, to Mukono, to Port Bell and Chengera.
For people that are going all the way to Mukono, they can use the train and then stop at Namamve and then take an easy Matatu. Personally, I've taken the train and it's extremely refreshing.
The partnership between Uganda's Railway Corporation, Easy Matatu and Safe Border is one of the many ways various sectors of Uganda's economy are leveraging on ICTs to boost service delivery. Abdul Nasir Luwama, UBC Business.
The fuel retail business has numerous challenges that often lead to loss of money. To help address the situation, PesaPal, an online payment solution, has introduced a digital solution to the Ugandan market. Get to know more from Isaiah Otika.
So the fuel business is very high risk. It is low margin. So we wanted to see how can we really help with our digital payment solutions. How do we help the players in this industry to streamline their operations? And that's where the whole idea came in. So we did our market research, we talked to various businesses, and they guided us on what exactly the gaps are, and that is how we ended up building Forecot. So with Forecot, you're able to do a variety of things. That's like wet stock management. So you're able to monitor in real time. So you might be anywhere in the world. You might have multiple stations across the country. So Forecot gives you immediate feedback on how your business is doing. Then with that data, you're now able to make quick decisions. Which days are peak, which days are low.
So basically it is for the proprietors or the entrepreneurs, but not some of us who drive in, drive out of fuel.
It actually affects you as well. Let's say you're running a fleet, even you as an individual. You know, if you go to a fuel station that runs with Forecot, you're guaranteed that the fuel that you've paid for is actually what is entering your vehicle. So we have things like automatic invoicing. So as soon as the pump has dispensed fuel, Forecot can be programmed to send an invoice to the fleet manager, or if you're an individual, the same.
The Uganda Museum is hosting a 6-month Apes of Uganda exhibition. This exhibition seeks to generate deep insights into the integrated primate conservation and sustainable tourism business. Let's have a look.
So the Great Apes exhibition is basically looking at fossils and then looking at how the fossils relate to the current apes. We have the fossils which existed in eastern Uganda, in Moroto, Karamoja region, 20 million years ago. That is Morotopithecus. We have the Ugandapithecus major. We call it Ugandapithecus major because that one is also having more resemblance of the human being. And so we have it also at the museum. That was also showcased, and we have put a 3D screen that is also running for that.
We have 53% of the world mountain gorillas. 53% of the whole world. Not Rwanda, not the DRC, but Uganda. 53%. And those are primates. And chimpanzees in Kibale forest, isn't it? The largest number of primates in the world is found where? In Kibale. So the purpose of this exhibition, therefore, is to inform Ugandans, to inform the world, to inform scholars, to inform the journalism fraternity that for these 6 months, let us concentrate on knowing that Uganda is gifted by nature and we are the capital, literally the capital of primates of the world.
We have done this one to inform natural conservation. They are intertwined, okay? We are talking about apes, we are talking about evolution. So when something is an ape or when it has evolved, those old ones are displayed in the museum. Whereas the natural, the ones which are still in the forest, are under wildlife. So that's why even I think whoever created our ministry had no mistake of having both natural and cultural heritage together.
And the exhibition showcases the fossil work as well as the work on the living primates. And we have a section on conservation, threats to primates, and also we try to end on a note that is hopeful. So we talk about places like Ngamba Island, which is a protected area where any chimpanzee who has been orphaned, they can live together in a community and have a good quality of life.
Mine is to welcome the public, encourage them to come and visit the museum. I cannot stop before saying that we have reconstructed the Nduhura, which died in 2016, and it fell from the tree, it was shattered, and so we have reconstructed. So those who have never seen silverback in the forest, they are going to be able to see it at the Uganda Museum. For us to sustainably manage the space, we ask just a minimum fee to the foreigners, 15,000, to Ugandans, only 5,000. Yeah, so really they can come, the public should come and support us.
As much as we are talking about conservation, you must develop. Some of these natural resources must be exploited for the benefit of Ugandans. But the most important thing is balancing the two. How do we balance between wildlife conservation and oil what? Drilling or exploration? You must come up with interventions. You must create awareness. You must tell people, promote programs like ecotourism, so that we live in harmony with wildlife. Otherwise, you cannot say, keep wildlife and people are not benefiting from it. We must benefit. The most important thing is doing research. And out of this research, they will inform you how you can develop your projects in harmony with wildlife conservation.
And on to our regional scene, the Kenyan transport stakeholders and government officials are discussing a proposal on how public transport vehicles known as Matatus can go fully cashless. Matatu owners are trying to streamline their operations to make their businesses more competitive. Let's get more from CGTN.
Kenya's Matatus are always in the headlines, many times for the wrong reasons, from causing traffic jams to reckless driving with passengers decrying unfair treatment. It's a multi-billion-dollar industry, chaotic despite regulation. Stakeholders say going cashless will help standardize operations, including fares and cab losses.
Money has always been the core of these gangs and cartels and police coming to Matatu. Actually, the investor is like now the minority shareholder. The only way to kill these groups is to deprive them of that which brings them to the Matatus, which is money. And once they see that the industry has gone cashless and there is no money to be dishing out, they will automatically die down.
The Kenyan government is ordering all the public transport sector providers to go cashless. According to the government, it's the cash situation that's bringing all the loopholes that the industry is currently experiencing.
In our Sounds of Business, we take you to Murchison Falls National Park. Enjoy the beautiful scenery, flora and fauna, and the breathtaking waterfalls. As we sign off, we leave you with a few tips and skills that will pay you forever. The first one, the ability to sell and negotiate, the ability to keep trying even after failure, and the ability to adapt, improvise, and overcome obstacles. We're humbled that you have been part of the show. See you next time. Bye-bye.
UBC, inspiring